Let's go for 8.
All
And then
right.
you can start coding at 6 p.m.
Yeah. All right, here we are.
Very good.
Hello, Stuart.
Hey, Raul, how's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. How are you?
Very nice. I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico right now, and very excited to be talking to you, my friend from the forum on one of our favorite topics, IOTA.
Yeah, let's talk about IOTA. I'm from
Yeah.
Thailand, so we are actually in a very different time zone. So what is it, like 15 hours between us?
Well, let's see. Right now it's 8:09 p.m. What do you have?
I have 10 a.m. Yeah, it's 15 then.
My
Or is
brain
it
can't even do
14, 14,
it.
14,
Yeah,
14
but
hours?
you're a different day, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in Wednesday already. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm
So
from
there's
the
no way to
future. I'm
understand
from
it.
the future. I
Yeah,
know.
right, exactly.
I know what's
Well,
coming.
you are actually from the future. I mean, that is true. I mean, look at the picture that you've chosen. You are from the future. So we've
Absolutely.
got Raul here speaking to us from the future.
Hmm.
So everybody listen up and find out what's about to happen.
Are you seeing me, by the way, or are you still seeing the
Oh,
photo?
no, I'm just seeing the city of the future.
Okay, okay. Here I am.
Ah,
Hello.
there you are. Yeah, there you are. Very good.
All right then. So basically, we have this weekly live videocast called Tangled and Unchained.
Tangled and Unchained. Very
Yeah.
good. Now tell me, how did you get that name? Why did you choose that name?
So Tangled is obviously every one of us who is in love with IOTA is kind of tangled into that, and Tangle is the protocol, right? That IOTA is running on, and
Tangled.
Unchained
There you go.
coming from our big friend, good friend David.
Can you see it?
Yeah, that's the Tangle exactly, real Tangle. And David is always saying that Tangle is blockchain without blocks and chains. So that's where the Unchained come from. So Tangled and Unchained.
Tangled and Unchained. Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, when you compare the technology of blockchain, which I like blockchain, but it already feels like it's chained. You know, it already feels like it's it's keeping us locked into a system that we're ready to break out of. So I
Mhm.
like Unchained.
Yeah, it's very linear, right? Tangle
Yeah,
is
linear. Exactly.
much more dynamic and multidimensional, right? That's
Yes,
what I like about
exactly,
it.
exactly.
But what's your story like? How did you get into IOTA in the first place?
Wow. Well, like everybody else in 2012 or 11, I heard about Bitcoin and decided that I had no future and could have bought it at, $1 and I'd be a multi-trillionaire by now, no question. And then I kept watching it and then I sort of dropped it for other reasons. I went elsewhere. And then when I came back into the world of technology, I saw that it had become something very real. And I had a friend who was really into it, really into. Well, his big thing is he's one of these very anti-government, anti-structure, anti-bank. He's actually a flat earther. You know about these guys?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's their thing, whatever. So they believe the earth is flat. But he's a great guy. His name's Aaron. And he told me about all the cryptos, and I got fascinated. And then he told me about IOTA, and I just had this feeling in my heart, like something about IOTA. I didn't know what it was, except I read the white paper. Yeah,
Mhm.
I read the white paper, and the white paper blew me away. Always. I want to just say to anybody who's listening, if anybody's ever listening, that the white paper of IOTA is brilliant, and it's always important to read these white papers. So I read the white paper, and I heard about the tangle. It made absolute sense to me. So I was hooked. So I bought in at 17 cents.
Wow.
And yeah, I know. And then I thought, forget it. Who knows? Will go anywhere. You never know. Bitcoin was going through the roof, and Ethereum was going up. And I looked back, and it was already up to $1.20. So I sold it. I thought, wow, I made $50. I was so thrilled. And then I realized this was no joke. And then I started buying it and studying it and researching it and getting seriously into it.
Mm-hmm. And
that's my IOTA. Yeah, go ahead.
You ended up in the Facebook group somehow as well, right?
Yeah, well, I was looking. I realized that it was beyond me to really, on my own, untangle the tangle. To really make sense of it. Especially, I was worried. We'll talk about this probably because the times are with us. The wallet was particularly a bit confusing at first because I'm not really a technology. I started in computers years ago when I was 14, but then I became a filmmaker and went in the healing arts. So for me, technology is something I've always used, but to get deep into it, I hadn't been for a while. So I looked around for the best group and I found IOTA, and then I got on the group. I met Eric, and Eric talked me through the wallet, and Eric immediately was clearly a bright light in my world. And I very quickly got the wallet and kept buying more and more and more, and then became a moderator. He liked what I was doing, and then I got upgraded to an admin, and now I do nothing. I just sit back and let my IOTA make money. No, I'm joking. I have to do so. That forum is a lot of work, right?
It is. Yeah. I have pretty much similar story with you, at least the last part, exactly as well. I had the issue with my wallet, and I then stumbled onto Eric, and he basically brought me to the light,
right?
With how the dangle actually works and how the addresses work and so forth, and yeah, pretty much very similar the ending with you.
Yeah, and then you got really. What was your background before you got into IOTA? I've always been curious.
I've been doing a lot of things, but essentially back in high school times, I was working as a programmer. I was actually a developer, software developer. But then I went to business school and I moved into marketing and management. I was in gambling business for 7 years. I did casinos.
Nice.
Not the online, but
how was that? Was
real world.
Did you enjoy that? How did you enjoy the casino world?
It was very interesting. I mean, it was super mysterious, obviously, right? Everyone wants to know how this actually works, right? If you ask anyone, everyone is super curious, right? How is this?
Yeah, right.
What's happened behind the scenes and so forth, right?
Yeah, right.
And then, it was an experience for sure. And then after that, I moved into finance. So I was 7 years in finance. I used to do product development for finance and basically be the person between the software developers and the business, right? At some point. And then being a CEO in Australia for the finance business. And then after that, basically I had a baby and I quit my job and I became running my own little businesses. And also went back to software development. So now I'm basically doing software development on my own, and I run my own businesses here in Thailand. So,
what kind of stuff are you doing? The small businesses that you're doing besides IOTA?
We have a skincare business.
Nice.
A recreation business, and then I have also a couple of projects that are like Kickstarter type of projects.
Right.
Technology, gadgets and stuff. So
gadgets, yeah.
And obviously now I'm building also this with Eric, this new IOTA UX platform that's more user friendly. That's where most of my time goes right now.
Yeah, I understand you're working quite a few hours to get the people the wallet.
Yeah, exactly.
So it looks like vodka, but in fact it's water from whales. So, or maybe it's vodka. I'm not saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not.
Good cover story, the whales.
Exactly. See, it says whales right here. It says it right here.
Yeah. But yeah, how I stumbled onto IOTA, that was an interesting story because I actually heard about Bitcoin first 2009 or 2007, whenever it was starting, basically the first year. And my friend told me about mining. He said that there is a way to make money using your computer. And I was very, very curious about that. And I actually went and researched it. And I remember the price was 7 cents at this point for Bitcoin. And I actually wanted to buy for fun because I was like this kind of early adopter type, and I always wanted to get into things first. And I flipped out my bank card and whatever the system they had at the moment of buying Bitcoin. I thought, okay, I'll buy it for $5 Bitcoin, 7 cents each, right? So it's about 150 Bitcoins. And for some reason, the bank gateway didn't accept my card. So I didn't get it. And then time went past, and I didn't much pay attention to it because I had my other things on the radar. And then 2017, I came back to Bitcoin at $3,000. So yeah.
Exactly.
And then
similar story.
Yeah, then I was like looking into mining because I heard that's a kind of good business plan to have some mining rigs and have like passive income from that. So I was looking into that and I stumbled onto this International Bitcoin Conference video from 2017. I think it was April or something. And it was 10-hour long video. And obviously I didn't have time to look through all of that. So I was basically skipping through. And I happened to read comments under this video. And there was the last comment under this video was somebody had written, "Is there anything about IOTA in here?" And I was like,
"Oh wait, could you repeat that? I didn't quite hear you."
Under this video, the Bitcoin conference video, 10-hour video, there was a last comment said, "Was there anything about IOTA in there?" Somebody asked, "Was there anything about IOTA in this video?" And that was that was the trigger moment for me because I was like, okay, this is a 10-hour video with lots of content, and some guy is just particularly singling out this IOTA thing. Why is that? I got curious, right? So then right away I jumped into the website and I read the white paper, same like you, right? And I was like, wow.
Yeah, right. Wow. Brilliant, right? It's like a light goes on in your head, you know.
Exactly. And the same day I sold all my Bitcoin and I went all in IOTA.
Yeah.
And I joined the group and so forth, right? So my story.
It's a good story. So it sounds like you've had quite a bit of experience in finance and business, which is great. You know, and then you're able to bring that together with the technical. So now it's a perfect mix, really, to do this kind of video show.
No, probably.
I think so.
We'll have to see. Yeah.
We have to see. We don't know.
Let's stay humble.
Yeah. Well, I just think that, you know, it seems to me that with the background in finance, it gives you a little more cred in terms of as an investment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this investment is more of at the moment, it's more of a geek territory, right? Because you need to really understand the implications of the technology.
Yeah, no doubt.
To really make it not a gamble and make it actually a viable investment.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And we've seen that some people who haven't been very geeked out, who are not first adopters, who are unwilling, you know, I mean, we were the people who were building Radio Shack computers, right? You know, that's when we were kids. I don't know about you, but we were taking apart televisions and, you know, all that kind of stuff when we were kids. And so for us later, now it makes sense. We have this kind of system that's not quite ready for prime time. You know, it's in beta. And it is complicated for people to get into it. And yet it really isn't. It's just a question of listening very carefully and looking, and we'll get into that more. But I think to really be able to understand IOTA, you have to look beyond the headlines of Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the money being made, and dive a little deeper into the technology and into the potential of the technology with the Internet of Things and all the things that we're going to get into right now. You know, it's not like for some people, it's very easy. They get on an exchange, they use their credit card, they go to Coinbase, they buy some coins, it goes up, it goes down. But IOTA requires a little more involvement, I think, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. it requires a little bit more understanding on what it is really is and what the implications are of that technology. So I've been thinking about the kind of just hypothetically, right? If there would be no blockchain, if there would be no Bitcoin, then IOTA on its own would be such a massive thing for the world.
Totally.
without any kind of pre-requirement of having a blockchain and having a Bitcoin, making the lane for it, right? So basically, just for IOTA being called a crypto, it's just kind of a bad accident.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a new and different paradigm.
Exactly.
The cryptos kind of have a bad taste to them, right? Because so many shit ICOs around and you know, so many scams and so forth, right? So it's kind of unfortunate that IOTA is in this kind of category, right? At all.
It's true. I mean, you know, there's a lot of Bitcoin lovers out there. God love them, and Ethereum lovers and blockchain people. I think blockchain has its place. You know, it's got a role in voting, perhaps. It's got a role in perhaps currency. We'll see. Nothing personal, Bitcoin people. We all have our own favorites, but
no, I'm not saying about Bitcoin. I'm just saying about the whole industry is like 900.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. I mean, you've got Bitcoin's not a scam. You've got so many scams. You know, that's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I just, you know, I love Bitcoin. I love Ethereum. And then you've got what, 14, almost 1,500 other coins out there now at this point.
Yeah.
And IOTA IOTA, although it's a currency, is not really a cryptocurrency. I mean, what's that? That's this much of what it is?
Iceberg, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. So the currency part of IOTA is the tip of the iceberg. And what we're going to try and help you get into, what we're going to get into is, what is the deeper truth behind IOTA? Why do we see the potential? Why is it potentially a multi-trillion-dollar business? Are we exaggerating? Are we making that up? I don't think so. I mean, I see it as a real possibility, and we can talk more about that. So what do you think one of the first things that you want to say about what's unique to IOTA that's different from blockchain? And I guess we want to start maybe with the Tangle, or do you want to give us some characteristics?
Yeah, so Tangle is not the blockchain, right? IOTA is not the blockchain. The blockchain is basically a linear, how do I say it in a simple way? It's like a linear line of blocks that happen sequentially after each other in a chronological order, right? You have block number 1, block number 2, block number 3, and they just chained on top of each other, right? As they come in time. And this basically means that the technology requires mining, because each of those blocks need to be confirmed by cryptographically basically solving puzzles, doing proof of work, and then getting them signed and getting the transactions confirmed. And then this blockchain is being distributed between all the nodes, between all the market participants, to make it an actual transaction that then is secured by being distributed between the network.
Right. It's not right. It's not just on one computer. So if one node goes down, the ledger is on many computers.
Yeah. So if you compare
for those who are, yeah, go ahead.
If you compare with banks, right? Banks have a server and a backup server and one more backup server. So if all of those backup servers and server blew up, right, then the data is gone, right? But in the blockchain case, you have this distributed between all the market nodes. So basically, it's almost indestructible in a way. Yeah. Because even if 99% of them go down, right, you still have some of them standing, right?
Right. Exactly. And because of that, it makes it not very easy to attack the chain.
Exactly.
Right. So however, I mean, this is for some. Yeah. Go ahead.
This is I would call it if standard kind of banking system or server system is a single point of failure, then blockchain, in my opinion, is few points of failure. But what Tangle basically brings to the game, if it's in full scale and if it's in full power in production mode, it's basically no points of failure. Because with Tangle, all the market participants, everyone who is making transactions is participating in confirming the transactions.
Yes.
Right. And if you look into the future, you know, Tangle actually allows doing hive nodes or nano nodes.
Yeah.
Which basically means that literally every single person who participates, every single person who participates in IOTA in Tangle is a node. Is a fraction of the node, right?
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. So the advantage of that is that we have this distributed ledger of all the transactions in the Tangle spread out across the world in millions and millions and millions of devices. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. Right. So we've got them in phones, we've got them in sensors, and we'll get more into that. But it has, as opposed to multi points of failure, has practically unlimited points of what did you say? A single point of failure? Say that again. How did you say it?
Single point of failure, few point of failure, and no point of failure.
Right. Okay. Right. So with millions of nodes, you have no point of failure because there's so many nodes.
It's like an ant nest, right? You can crash thousands of ants, right? Nothing happens, right? If you kill thousands of ants in the nest, right, they will be replaced quickly, right?
Very quickly. Same with bees.
Yeah, the hive doesn't suffer from that, right?
Right. Exactly.
That's basically.
Yeah, so it's a wholly different mind than a linear series of transactions that are unchangeable and therefore a legitimate, clear, and permanent record. But it's still distributed among a certain number of nodes, a certain number of points of failure. Whereas with millions of nodes, we have an indestructible record that you can't wipe out all the nodes. So it's a permanent ledger that has millions of backups.
Exactly. Yeah. And another thing is obviously this Tangle benefit of Tangle is the way the proof of work is done, right? So instead of waiting for a block of 100 or 200 transactions, every transaction you want to do in Tangle, you need to confirm 2 other random transactions. Obviously, if it wouldn't be random, then it would be easy to manipulate, right? But the fact that the transactions that you confirm when making a transaction are chosen by random is making it secure, right? You don't have a way to cherry pick those transactions you want to confirm.
Right, exactly. And then built into it is this a node waiting. So if a node goes rogue and starts to try to do something that's not random, it's built into the system to point out that node and isolate it. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So this basically, by basically reducing the proof of work required for transaction confirmation, the miners are no longer necessary, right?
Big deal there.
Because everyone is a miner. Every customer is a miner.
In terms of the verification process.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But they do it without knowing it, right? So every time you make a payment in IOTA, you're actually becoming a miner in a way, right? In micro scale.
Right here. Right. Yeah. So what I'm doing, right, whereas in blockchain, the transactions are being sent to people who are called miners.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, we've got these many devices, and each transaction is functioning as a verification node.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And the biggest benefits of that obviously is one is speed. So if the network is in full scale and in production mode, then obviously this kind of confirming 2 transactions versus confirming 100 transactions is obviously everyone can understand it's faster, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to wait to collect the 100 transactions into the block, right, and then confirm it. But you only need 2 transactions, and then you confirm it, right, immediately.
Right. Exactly.
So this is faster in purely on a kind of concept wise, as well as right now, if you look at any blockchain, they actually need dedicated miners with dedicated hardware, which obviously is an investment for people who are doing that. And in order to incentivize this investment, you need to give them some money, right, for that.
Yes, exactly.
That's where the Bitcoin and blockchain fees come from. So in order to get the network running and not halting, we need to pay them. And this comes from our pockets, right? So every time I move Bitcoin or Ethereum, I need to put some money to the guys who own the hardware.
Right, exactly.
There is more problems coming from that, but we get into that later. So essentially, by removing those miners and by making everyone a miner in a Tangle, you can actually offer free transactions.
Free transactions.
Is completely. It's nice to have free transactions for every situation, right? Obviously, this just feels good, right?
Yeah. But, well, I mean, it's first time in history, besides without actual, handing. I give you $1, you give me 50 cents. It's a free transaction. But once it turns into a banking transaction or a distributed ledger transaction on a blockchain, there is some kind of fee because somebody else is verifying. So first time that we have the option, since we've had this kind of digital economy, of free transactions. Yes.
Yeah. First digital free payments in the world.
First digital free payments in the world. Yeah.
Cash, obviously, you can pay for free, right? But that's not cash, right? That's digital.
Right, exactly. Yeah, cash is free. But we're moving into an era where cash is simply unable to power the economy. There's no way. We have to, in order for us to go to where we need to get to, we have to have an electronic monetary system. There's simply no other way around it. And so IOTA, by having 0 fees, makes a huge advantage. If you think about the amount of fees being paid by people, they're enormous every day. How much are fees? It's probably...
And it's even now with the current Bitcoin price, right? Imagine if Bitcoin price is $100,000, right, dollars.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, with all the hype and all the branding and so forth.
Possible.
So then right now you can buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin already, right? With current price, right? Imagine if it goes to 10 times that, right? With the Bitcoin price going up, right? The fee is gonna be growing also proportionally with that, right?
Right, exactly.
So you're going to be paying $100 for Bitcoin transfer as minimum.
I mean, unless they get this Lightning Network going, but this is very speculative, I mean.
No, right now, there's been a lot of speculation on that. And
yeah, and we hope they get it. But in any event, I mean, even if you're working with Ethereum, there's still a little bit of a transaction fee because there's still a point of work transaction, which requires, and of course, the reason why there's always a fee besides the investment in the equipment is there's energy involved, right? So there's energy involved. Excuse me?
Yeah, exactly. There is energy and the hardware investments, right? And people want
right. So you've got energy, you've got hardware, you've got administration, you've got a building, whereas we can do it right here. And how much energy is it really? It's almost no energy because it's only, as you're saying, basically 3 transactions at once. So, whereas Bitcoin, for all its positive benefits, is absorbing huge amounts of energy to mine it right now.
There was an example somewhere that it's like energy consumption of Ireland or something.
Daily?
Bitcoin, yeah, daily, yeah.
Oh my God.
So it was like energy consumption of a whole country is basically going into keeping the Bitcoin flowing at the moment.
Right. Which is intolerable, given that a lot of these things are, I mean, once that becomes a renewable source, that becomes less damaging for the environment. It's a whole different ballgame. But for now, it is contributing, unfortunately, again, as much as I love Bitcoin, it is contributing to the carbon in the atmosphere because most of it's being, what percentage would you say is being done in China right now?
I think it's minimized now since the new laws.
So
the government shut it down, so it's Probably, maybe there is still something going on underground, right? But officially, they should be all closing down.
So then they're probably doing more geothermal in Iceland, I guess, is one of the main places they're going. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's very positive. That's a renewable.
But when we look also this pricing thing, it's not only the aspect of having free transactions and just feeling good about it. It's actually an enabler as well, if you think about it, because with something like Bitcoin or any kind of blockchain, you couldn't really do nano transactions. If you want to pay 1 cent to someone,
right, tiny transaction,
tiny transaction, right? You can't really do it with any kind of blockchain technology.
No,
that's kind of actually was the motivation why the IOTA guys came up with the Tangle, right? Because if they want to make machine-to-machine economy and then machine-to-machine payments, right? And this is actually a crucial component to be able to do those really tiny transactions.
Exactly. Well, for example, if you're doing a tiny, if you're data streaming, right, and you have a little tiny bit of data, it doesn't matter how small the data is. We can create an IOTA amount for that data, and then we can send that data for free. So whereas even with a less expensive verification system like Ethereum, you still can't do microtransactions. It can't be done.
No,
it can't be done.
And none of the blockchain actually works with that, right? If you think about it, for the same reason, because you have the third party involved.
Right, exactly.
Who needs to be incentivized.
Right,
so
exactly.
What makes IOTA so special is that there is no third party. Everyone is in on it.
What do you say to the people? I mean, this has been a bit of a, some discussion around this. What's the motivation for, at some point, the nodes will be everywhere, right? We'll have swarm nodes. They'll be in the phones. They'll be in the sensors. They'll be in the data streams. But there's a kind of a training wheels period where we're going to need a lot of nodes to get it up to production level. And people are saying, well, why would I want to make a node right now when I'm paying for the node? So from what I'm hearing you say, this is a very temporary problem.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You just need to wait until the hardware component comes out of IOTA, right? So this is a very big thing as well, that IOTA is probably the only player in this space, in this crypto space, who actually is going to have their own hardware.
Exactly.
Right.
And why is that needed? Let's tell them why.
Because to do this proof of work energy efficiently.
Right.
Right. Because IOTA is not working on a binary; it's working on trinary. And why trinary? Trinary is more energy efficient, right? So
trinary, yeah, right. Trinary.
It's not public or official, right? But my understanding or my belief is that there will be a chip, IoT chip, that will be available to be put in all the IoT devices globally. It's going to be compatible with IOTA protocol, Tangle protocol.
Exactly. And as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't IOTA grow out of the trinary chip? That the chip almost came first, the GIN chip.
That was a bit complicated because there was actually one of the developers come from beyond. Sergey basically was working on a chip for many years.
Yeah.
And then another team, David and Dominic, basically were working on IoT as well, and they came together at some point.
I see.
The come from beyond was working with NXT before, right?
Right.
The chip was basically meant also to be with NXT.
Right.
Since IOTA came out,
so then, right. So IOTA became the protocol to work on the trinary chip.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And then the advantage of the trinary. Go ahead, please.
It was a better protocol. That's why they put it together. Basically, it was a good marriage between those two. Right. But again, that's pure speculation. That's not official announcement or anything. But all the signals are showing that this is coming. So.
Yeah, for example, is it SoftBank or GMO? They're talking about putting something like $23 million into developing these Jin chips. You know, IBM. There is money being moved in that direction. We don't have it yet, but money and
factory, right?
What's that?
Porsche is also building $1.1 billion factory, right? Porsche.
To build the Jin chips?
I don't know, some kind of chips, yeah. Not sure.
Yeah.
Chips, but
given if Jin or yeah,
given
right.
the fact that
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
They're involved with IOTA pretty strong, so you know, could be easily be connected with that as well.
So why, you know, one of the things that people are, I would say, unclear about right now is because of this initial confusion that we talked about, whereas clearly Bitcoin is a currency, was designed as a currency, and then IOTA gets grouped in as a currency, but then we have to make the bridge. Why are we saying that the currency is just the tip of the iceberg? What is it about Bosch? Why is VW on the board of the foundation now? What is it about IOTA that and how it interacts with the Internet of Things that makes this such a revolutionary protocol? That's what I think we need to get there.
What do you think?
Well, for me, we're looking at Forbes. Forbes is saying now that in the next 2 years, 200 billion is going to be put into the Internet of Things. Now, the Internet of Things, for those who don't know about it, these are on the most mundane level. We're talking about, let's say we have mobility, where the cars are driverless cars. So we have a car which on your cell phone, again, the cell phone is the magic thing. We'll never get away from these probably until we have implants, maybe, I don't know. But so you have a driverless car, you call the driverless car, the car comes and picks you up. And as soon as you enter the car, it makes contact with your cell phone, with your wallet and your cell phone. And as the miles tick off, the car drives, it sends IOTA to the driverless car. Okay, so there's an automatic, and that's where the nano transactions become so important. And then when the car is done with you, it needs fuel, it needs energy, so it drives itself to the self-fueling, to the electric charging station, driven by solar, driven by wind. It connects with a mesh network to the charging station, and then using the IOTA it just got from you, it sends those to the charging station. Charging station sends the electricity, and the car drives away. So we've got a thing in which we have various things talking to each other, sending IOTA, sending energy, sending information back and forth. That's just one example. You know, we have the Internet of Things with the data streams. I mean, look at the incredible possibilities with the data streams, right?
Exactly.
You know, so you've got, right. So you've got, let's say, I was thinking of an interesting data stream. Who wouldn't want to know what's going on at the airport they're about to fly out of, right? Wouldn't you want to know exactly how long it's going to take you to get through the TSA in America, you know, the authorities? So with the data stream sending, we could know exactly how fast the line is moving, how quickly we're going to get through the checkout point, and then we know exactly when we have to get there. That information is being sent to the driverless car, which is then updating in our phones and telling us when we have to leave. I mean, when you start to think of a world connected in this way, you begin to get a lot of frictionless activity. You know,
and the beauty of it is that actually the car doesn't need to have an owner. Car can be its own owner, right? Can be its own business.
So lay that out for me. How's that go?
Car can be its own business, right?
So in other words, you're saying the car works for itself?
Yes. Why not?
Why not? That's true.
The future, right? Like it has its own budget, right? It makes its own money, right? It makes its own beats, right? If somebody wants a car,
right.
Then the car can beat, okay, I'm close by, like I will give you a lower price, right? And so forth, right?
Right.
So
I'm close by.
Completely new paradigm, right? That's possible. What's possible? And we have seen in science fiction movies, right?
Right.
How robots want to be have human rights and so forth, right?
So we'll have our cars. They'll be marching in the streets. They'll be picketing. Actually, they won't need to pick it because they'll be in charge of their own business and competing with each other. It can only work if they're getting enough energy to be able to get their tires changed, get their parts fixed, get the servicing being done, get the electricity. So it ends up, it's interesting because as you think of it this way, the Internet of Things becomes almost more like nature. Yeah.
Exactly.
Where each object has its own place in the ecosystem. And I think one of the things that I was trying to get to was that a lot of people don't understand something about the plan that the developers, Dom and David, have around the release of IOTA. So whereas we look at Ethereum, we look at Bitcoin, it was meant to be a consumer item, right? It was meant to be used by consumers. Whereas this iceberg effect, the IOTA was always meant to first be, number one, an ecosystem. Yes?
A standard.
But you can't, from the very beginning, it was meant to be an ecosystem. So they had to think of it as an ecosystem first, and secondarily, a consumer interface.
Exactly.
And this is why the wallets, why we are where we are with the wallets, which we should probably talk about. But let's talk more about some of the great things about where else we'll be going with IOTA. And I mean, do you see any downsides? What besides one thing you keep saying that I find very interesting when it's a production level. So we're in beta right now.
Yes.
Right. So while we're in beta, of course, we need training wheels. We have these clunky wallets. You're building a new wallet. What are the other factors that are affecting consumers right now who are speculating? They're not even consumers, really. They're speculators. What other factors are affecting the speculators at this point and making them nervous about IOTA? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Obviously, the drama that happened now with the seed generators, right? But we'll get into that later, I think.
The evil seed generator. Yeah, we'll get back to that.
We'll talk about the security later a bit, but I would like to talk actually about the scalability thing.
Yeah,
that's something we didn't touch yet. Because obviously we talked about the Tangle and how it operates different from the blockchain, and why it's faster and why it can be free. But one more big advantage, actually, which is actually maybe the biggest advantage, is that actually Tangle is the only protocol that actually could serve all the 7 billion people in the world right now. It's the only protocol that's capable of doing that, because blockchain wouldn't be able to go past 1 million people.
Do you have math to back that up? Not right now.
I have math, but I've read it somewhere. I can look it up later. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to look at exactly why do we have that. You've got some flying friends over there.
Yeah, some little mosquitoes.
Yeah, we have none here. So good luck with that. Hope that they're friendly ones anyway.
You have right?
We have snow. We have sun. We have I'm in New Mexico right now, and we have beautiful skies. So we have no mosquitoes. We're 7,000 feet up, and it's between 20 and 50 degrees. Can you imagine? It's like Estonia, but Estonia I don't think has the sun, does it? Does that have the sun?
We have sun sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, right. Where I'm from in Michigan, we had something like 10 Sundays a year. So we were always depressed. It was suicide weather almost every day in Michigan. But so anyway, so back to the scalability. So your opinion is that it is actually scalable to be able to work with the
unlimited scalability due to the fact
scalability, right.
That you don't. The more participants in the market, the more miners and the more confirmers of transactions.
Right.
That's the deal, right? With the Bitcoin, you would need to add more and more hardware in order to basically support this. And the block size will still be 100, right? Or 200. Right?
I thought were they not working on smaller blocks, or was that
bigger blocks?
I thought something like Bitcoin Cash was trying to do smaller blocks, and there were many
bigger blocks.
Which one?
They want to do bigger blocks because that's more money for the miners.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? Oh,
Bitcoin
interesting.
Cash has bigger blocks, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay. I'm not as familiar with Bitcoin. I love it again, but I'm not as familiar.
So that's the thing, basically, yeah, that IOTA and Tangle basically has unlimited scalability due to the concept of how Tangle is working, right?
Right.
So that's an enormous benefit, and something that really can be used in real world, right? It's not just an experiment, right? When in my opinion, blockchain is more of an experiment. So it was a nice start to the whole industry. But in my opinion, it's not something that can be really taken into mainstream today as it is.
You mean
So
in terms of the?
other,
Oh, excuse me. Go ahead. Excuse me.
yeah, there might be other kind of new ideas coming in and so forth, right? But as it stands, it's not scalable to the mainstream. So
yeah,
that
as it stands now, today,
the world
can
right, use it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work technically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I like what you said when you changed your language from a miner to confirmer. Because one thing we haven't said is that in the IOTA ecosystem, all of the coins that ever will exist have already been created. They're not mined.
Exactly.
Right. So we don't need miners. We have confirmers, and each device then becomes, in the distributed ledger, a confirmer device. And then this distributes the energy and the load across numbers of devices. A very lightweight application, and that is a challenge that they hope to fix with the blockchain, but so far has not been resolved. It's not been resolved as of today. As of today, though, we're in beta, so people could say whatever they want. But I mean, when do you think we're going to get out of beta? Where do you see us moving into? And when would you hazard a guess as to when we're into production?
I think 2019 is the year that we're gonna be in full scale, and we don't need coordinator anymore, and we don't we don't have problems with the nodes and so forth, right? Because there's so many things happening right now, so many new participants, corporate participants coming in and bringing their hardware and bringing their power behind it, right? Which is then helping the network overall as well.
Yes, exactly. Well, you think about Bosch. Now, in America, we're not as familiar with Bosch, but what kind of market share does Bosch have in the world? Market cap? Do you have any idea? I mean, it's huge.
It is.
It's enormous. I mean, we see Bosch, I think, probably mostly in car parts, but they're in everything. In the EU.
Right? They are not exactly consumer product business, but they are actually working behind the scenes, right?
Right, exactly. They're in the supply chain side, which is exactly where the blockchain, where the IOTA will be functioning. You won't even see the IOTA. You'll see it on your wallet, right? You'll see numbers, but it's just going to be flowing around through all these different pathways.
Exactly.
And so we have the scalability issue, which, from your perspective as an engineer and as a scientist, you agree it's unlimited in scalability. That's my impression as a non-engineer. We also have a very interesting thing coming up right now, which is that IBM has now an operating quantum computer, right? Yeah. So what's the challenge for crypto with quantum computers? How do you see that?
Obviously, the standard hashing algorithms are vulnerable to quantum computing. That we know, right?
Yeah, the standard hashing,
quantum computing allows you to basically brute force faster.
Could you say that one more time? You broke up. One more time.
Sorry. The quantum computing allows, due to its nature, allows brute forcing, guessing the prime numbers much faster.
Right, exactly.
How the hashing algorithms work is that they multiply two prime numbers together, large prime numbers together, and they get the third large prime number. And multiplying is easy, but getting back from the multiplied number to the original numbers is complicated, right? But quantum computing is really good at doing the reverse as well, because they can try many numbers in parallel.
Right.
That makes the quantum computing very dangerous for the standard hashing algorithms.
Right.
However,
So, and what's the effect on that? And the effect on the consumer, of course, is hackability.
Yeah, you can start getting hacked even it's hashed and encrypted, right?
Right. So they have to develop they're going to have to develop a way to deal with not being quantum hacked. Whereas my understanding is that IOTA has built into it, because it's trinary and other factors that I'm not aware of technically, it has the ability to withstand, at least theoretically, quantum attacks.
Yeah,
how do you see that?
It's built for that, yeah, because obviously IOTA is a future technology, and the guys who created it were aware that quantum is coming. They basically built IOTA around it.
Right.
So it is quantum resistant.
Right. So that's huge, and of course other coins will get there. Hopefully, we don't know, but hopefully. But in the meantime, everything indicates that it's quantum resistant.
Mm-hmm. And it's also a problem for not only cryptos but also banks and everyone, right? So all the current crypto algorithms basically are susceptible to quantum attacks, right?
Right.
Brute force attacks.
Right.
It's a similar situation like we had this 2000 error, right? Remember back in 1999?
Oh, the 1990. Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it's a pretty similar kind of situation now that the whole market needs to basically adjust to that.
Yeah, and then we've got now we know that each chip has those flaws built into them, right?
Yeah,
the current chips, right? Mm-hmm. So now we've got the entire ecosystem of the digital world is hackable. So now our phones are getting slowed down. Everything's getting slowed down, and we're realizing that
slowed down.
What's that?
Slowed down is not the biggest problem, right?
No, slow is not. No, nothing compared to being hacked. No, nothing. Right.
That's a big problem.
Right. I take slow over hacked any day. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But there is a few more interesting things I would like to mention about IOTA. One is this Cogniota.
Great.
Have you heard about that? Cogniota?
Cogniota I've heard of, but I'm not very clear on it.
Mm-hmm. So it's basically a distributed machine learning running on Tangle. So meaning that you can actually buy the machine learning service from the distributed network for IOTA. Right. And the funny thing is that there is actually an exit for the miners who do blockchain right now.
How do you? And they've been talking about that. Say more about that. That's cool stuff.
All this idle hardware all the hardware that is used right now for mining blockchain, Bitcoin and Ethereum, for example, can be switched into doing machine learning work instead. So the way the blockchain is actually using the hardware is they are just solving some quite pointless crypto puzzles that are not helping anyone, other than just they are done in order to confirm those transactions. But the essence of those crypto puzzles has no value to the world.
Right, exactly. Right. There's no value to the actual coin. Right, there's nothing.
Puzzle they're solving, right? So there's zero value.
Right.
They could be solving some real world problems via machine learning.
Right.
Or any kind of real world rendering exercises, whatnot, right? And getting paid for that.
Can you give me an example of a machine learning real world example?
Now, for example, if you want to talk about computer vision, right, and how to identify objects on the photos. So you give a computer millions of photos, and you tell on each photo what this photo represents, right? And at some point, the computer will learn to identify objects by himself. So if you give a photo to them, they are able to identify there is a cat on the photo, for example,
Right.
or a house or a car. So that's one most common example of machine learning these days.
Right.
But of course, you can feed computer any kind of data and set the rules, basically what you want them to learn, and after millions and millions of entry input points, they're able to identify and solve problems for you according to what they have learned from the input, right? That's basically machine learning, right? And it's very, 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 very power intensive and very, very computing power intensive. So obviously, if it can be done in distributed way, then it can be done very fast, right? So instead of doing it on your desktop computer, you can do it in tens of thousands of, even millions of computers in basically in a minute, right? Rather than waiting for months.
Right.
So that's the benefit, really. And this IOTA is building a network for that. And from that, obviously, if you have machine learning and deep mind type of neural networks, then from that you can actually build an AI, distributed AI.
Exactly.
Right. And if you couple this distributed AI with the data marketplace, access to sensors, then that's a Skynet.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about that actually. And then the question comes: is that the world we want to live in? And I don't know that, given the amount of mouths we have to feed, we have much choice. To be honest with you, I think that when I was younger, and there were fewer people, I was very much. I thought, well, we're just going to have to go back in technology. We can't afford the oil. We can't afford destruction. We can't afford ruining the rainforest. But now we've got so many people, and we're not able to control the population. We're going to have to up our game, And I think that when we start talking about the next industrial revolutions, the third and the fourth industrial revolutions, we're talking about how do we bring prosperity to all people of the world without destroying the world. And I think that this, right? So we need these kinds of, I don't know that there's another way out of this.
No, there's not.
I don't see.
I mean, humans are not capable of managing the resources effectively.
Exactly.
Too many variables to control, right? So, something like that, we need the central kind of, it doesn't need to be in control, right? It can be managed by humans, right?
Right.
To a certain extent, right? But there has to be like algorithms that are controlling it. Same like if you look at the blockchain and the overall distributed ledgers, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Nobody's controlling it, right? It's out of kind of, it's controlled by the algorithm, right?
Right, exactly.
Set and put in place, right? This algorithm is running it based on the rules in the algorithm, right? So there is no one person can just pull the plug and kind of change the rules, right?
That's true.
So I think it will be similar kind of situation with resource management in the future. That you have the sensors inside the soil, measuring the pH levels and whatnot, right?
Right, exactly.
The moisture levels and so forth, the air sensors and so forth. And, the sensors about population, sensors about needs of people and so forth. And the AI is just taking all this data and making decisions, production decisions and so forth based on that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I was thinking, as you were talking, I was thinking, on a small scale, we're talking about mobility, driverless cars, things like this. But at some point, we're going to have rockets and space stations that will have driverless mining rigs going to the asteroid belt, right?
Yeah.
Right. So they'll be solar powered, or they'll be powered with some other form of technology that we don't know yet. And there won't need to be humans involved. So we'll be able to send out these fleets of mining ships and take a lot of this as people need more and more. And then, of course, eventually we're going to have to leave the planet Earth, probably, my guess. And I think there's no way to get there. I don't know. It's a funny thing. I have mixed feelings about all of that. But on the other hand, I don't see any way to control the population. So this is bigger than our conversation needs to be. But it gives you a sense that IOTA is the gateway towards these possibilities. That's what I guess we're trying to say here. Okay. I think our time. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was also saying that maybe because it's already been an hour, so maybe we just need to touch base quickly on the
yeah, exactly,
the coin as well. So if anyone wants to get into IOTA, then what to keep in mind and how to stay safe in this new paradigm, because obviously it's a completely new world. So let me just open one slide here, what I have prepared.
Oh, very good. We've got slides.
No, it's just this.
Now, I want you to know, Raul is the master of slides. This man knows how to do graphics.
All right. So we already touched base why we are all in IOTA. So the left side. Can you see it?
Yeah, it looks great. I've got the chips and I've got a very scary one on the right side.
Exactly. So that's exactly what's happening in this crypto world now, that we need to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not just that crypto is like a new cash, a new currency, right? That's easy to manage, and it's same old, right? But it's actually a paradigm shift in a way that there is no central authority anymore where you can go and complain, right? There is no
right.
to say that, okay, my credit card was stolen and my funds were stolen from it. If you lose your money, you lose your money, right? That's it. So right. Every single individual in essence becomes their own bank. You become your own bank. You need to be responsible for yourself if you go into this space.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's something that people don't seem to understand, because I've seen a lot of questions in the forum that basically, where's the 1-800 number for IOTA? Right. I lost something or I can't do something, and I need to call support line. There is no support line, right?
Well, we're the support line. I mean, how many people has Andre personally and Eric saved? I mean.
Yeah, no, that's true, right? But we are just fans, right? We are not.
We're doing out of love and care. We care about people. We care about the technology. But but we're one group. We're we're one group holding back a wave. And I think your point is incredible. It's like we're moving away from JD actually on the forum was talking about this. We're moving out of a world in which we can expect institutions to take care of us and into a world where we have the tools to take care of ourselves.
Exactly.
Right?
This is a cost of being decentralized, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, centralized has its benefits and has its flaws, right? Obviously, centralized can be manipulated. Decentralized cannot be manipulated. It's fair. Decentralized is fair, right?
Right. But much more democratic.
With this fairness comes responsibility.
Right.
Each participant needs to take full responsibility, unlike with centralized.
Exactly.
Right. So I personally prefer decentralized, and I'm personally capable of taking responsibility, but many people actually do not understand that there is this paradigm shift, right? So that's why I think we need to talk about it to actually, and maybe in every single show, right, that we do, we need to point this out, right, that this is a new paradigm. You need to take responsibility. This is a completely different world from what you used to.
Exactly. Completely different. It's if you think about, I mean, now we're going to make it easy. People like you are making it easier, right? So you're going to make it easier with your wallet is going to be much more easy to use. But that doesn't mean that we're not responsible for our own funds. People say, oh, well, the wallets aren't working. And they do work if you know how to use them. And I say, if you had a wallet in Times Square and you ran around with the wallet in Times Square, holding your wallet and waving it in the air, how long are you going to have the wallet, right? But we're needing to educate ourselves as to what are our personal responsibilities in this new decentralized world.
Mm-hmm. Because it's pretty simple. Like if you fuck up, you lose the money.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
it's not complicated. It's very simple,
right.
Straightforward. Right.
Right.
But you just need to understand this one thing, right? This is your responsibility, and you need to do your homework. There is no
Right,
100,
exactly.
800 number, right? There is no support personnel waiting for you with headphones, Mickey Mouse headphones on their heads, right? There is just you. There is just you and the algorithm, basically. That's
Right.
it. That's the new game, right?
That's the new game.
Yeah.
Which means people are going to have to learn how to learn about this stuff.
Exactly.
You know, it's you can't, and it's interesting because for the younger people, I think it's going to be much easier. But for the older people, there's going to be a curve, but they can't pretend anymore. If they want to look, people can stay in the old game, but if you want to get into this unlimited world, this limitless world, you're going to have to learn how to learn and take the bull by the horns and become your own banker, your own in charge of your own affairs.
Exactly.
It's true. It's true.
And how do we do that? I mean, you've been in this game a long time now and supporting people and helping. And
yeah,
if you would summarize, like, what are the 3 key things with IOTA that people should look into and keep in mind, you know, when they're dealing with IOTA?
Yeah. Well, first of all, one is with IOTA, the main thing that one has to think about is that what we call the seed. And the seed is the most important element of your IOTA experience. And the seed is what allows you to protect your IOTA and move your IOTA around in the tangle. So they have to learn about the seed, understand the seed, know how to create a seed. They don't even really have to know what a seed is. And what it is somewhat complex. In essence, what it is that it's a key. It's a key and lock system. And so say again?
It's a password.
Yeah, it's a password, right. It's a password. Although it's funny because it functions somewhat differently than a password. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because the seed
username and password in one, right? All in one. But
exactly.
Password analogy is good because people know that they shouldn't give passwords to anyone, right?
Right, exactly. So you can't give your password out. You have to have a strong password. You can't use I love IOTA, I love IOTA, I love IOTA, I love IOTA. It's got to be a complex seed. We've seen a lot of problems with that. Another big issue is that up until now, the wallets. Now we got to think back as to why the original wallets were designed based on the underlying functionality of IOTA, which means machine to machine, right? So the first wallets were not really built for human error. Now the problem is that people make mistakes. Machines repeat themselves over and over and over and over and over again, never make mistakes. Humans, this is kind of complicated. So one of the main things that a person has to do until the new wallets are out is to really learn the rules and the procedures and the best practices for that wallet, and then function like that every single time. It's critical. It's critical.
And one more thing, never keep your seed in the computer. Keep your seed offline on the paper. On the paper or whatever.
Right.
Carve it on the metal or whatever you like, right? But
don't keep it here. The little gray cells, right?
Yeah, keep it on your head or on a paper, right? But don't keep it on the on a computer, right? Because computers are prone to have malware, keyloggers, and so forth, right? That is really easy to compromise your seed. And your
exactly. And exactly. Very easy. And people are storing them on their computers. They don't have adequate malware. They're not being careful what sites they're visiting. You know, so you got to have one of the things we have to tell people is you have to have good anti-malware, antivirus protection on your computers. It's essential. It's absolutely essential. You can't store. Some people are being less than careful. So they're using copy-paste systems, which I don't agree with. I mean, some people are saying, yeah, it's okay, copy paste. I would never copy paste my seed anywhere personally, you know, because I don't trust that system. So what I use now is rather than even use my keypad, I use a virtual keyboard.
Yeah,
and as far as I know, say again.
That's not prone to keylogging.
It's not yeah. So far, I don't know about whether there are mouse logging systems that could. I don't know. Have you heard of any mouse pad logging systems that exist?
There probably are, but they're not very common. So that's
right. So for now, it's safe. I mean, and you know what we're saying is that this isn't whatever we tell you today. It's going to change in 5 days, 10 days, a year.
Mm-hmm.
The thieves are increasing their capabilities as rapidly, almost as rapidly as the security is increasing its security. Right.
And we'll probably come back in some future shows to this topic and go into more detail. Maybe dedicate the whole show on the security, right?
Yeah, we should
get Eric on board and someone else as well, right? But I would like to suggest to everyone that just go and study overall internet security, at least the basics, right?
Right.
Like stuff like don't open attachments on emails, don't go on a websites that you're not sure of, don't open any files that you're not sure of. These are the kind of key basic stuff that you need to learn and change in your behavior, right? In order to make your computer safe, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then let's talk about this latest drama about seed generators, right?
Oh God, I mean, for months we were saying to people, do not use online seed generators. I mean, we said this and we said this. People would post them on the forum. We would take them down. They would post them. They would get angry at us. They'd come. I mean, it went on and on and on. And we said, really, it's really important. Don't use online seed generators. So then what happened, Raul?
People used online seed generators.
Right. And what happened?
They lost their money. Millions.
They lost their money.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars. How many? What was it? How many terabytes of?
No, about two T's, right? So it's roughly
2 T's.
Yeah, so it's roughly 6 million, right?
I mean, a lot of money was lost. And then going back to your point about empowerment and taking your power back and responsible, had they listened to us, and we're not blaming anybody, I'm not blaming anybody. I just feel sad for them. I feel sad that, you know what it is? It's this mental shift between it's a nanny state to now I'm my own banker, right? Exactly. Someone's going to take care of me. No, I'm taking care of myself and I'm going to learn. And I think that this is one of the main messages that we need to get across here is that it's really important that you take responsibility for your own computer security. And we're going to see more and more education and more information about computer security.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you generate your seeds, please study first how to generate it, and do not use any kind of online generators for that.
Right.
That's the main message.
Main message. And also, in my opinion, don't use any generator that takes place inside of a computer at all. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have this really amazing technology. It's called pencil and paper, and you just sit and you write it down, and then you put it in 5 places in case one burns down, right? You know, and then they have these great new seed vaults, you know, that are made of metal that are fireproof. So there's a lot of options, you know. And then, I mean, soon, what's your prediction of the first fully production ready? How many weeks, months?
In a month, we'll have something.
Production ready?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to have to be, one of the things we want to encourage people to do is as soon as these come out, not that we're going to have to encourage them much, but as soon as these come out, we have to have people adopting these new wallets, and that will take care of a lot of these problems.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what we're working for.
But not the problem of you doing your basic security for your computer. Just like you lock your door, you lock your car, you put your wallet in your pocket. So now we have to upgrade our thinking along computer security, and it's not that hard, really. It's doable.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So
we covered all the topics, I guess. You have anything else to add, or?
Well, I'm just really great to have this conversation with you. I love, as I said, I love your mind. Your mind is you have it's exciting to listen to people who are inside the technology, and I'm sort of halfway between. I've got a foot in both worlds. I made the choice between technology and arts and science and healing, and I went toward the arts, science, and healing. But I like being a bridge, and I'm very excited to be able to work with someone like you, who's got your feet very, very much planted in this technological world. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Stuart. And yeah, it was wonderful. I mean, you're obviously a pro, right? I'm not much of a broadcaster. It's my first kind of appearance online today. So yeah, you obviously, I can feel that you have a lot of experience in talking and being on the screen, basically. I can feel the pro in you. So
the pro in me, yeah, the pro in me. Well, I did it a long time. I mean, I did it a long time. I did it since I started doing this when I was 15 years old.
No, I can feel that.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I compare myself to the pros, and I feel, you know, like, but we always feel this way. So we do our best, and you know, it's like with everything, you've got to balance things out. You have to have the technical, you have to have the professional side of all elements to really make the full package. So that's my pitch on that.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, it's been an honor talking with you, as always. I always love our conversations.
Thank you very much, Stuart, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you. I'll be going to sleep soon, and you're waking up your child. You have a daughter, I think, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna spend time with family now. So,
how old is your daughter?
She's gonna be 2 years in April. So,
wow,
it's 1 year and 8 months right now. Very exciting times.
Yep. So from the desert to the jungle, we wish you a good day, good time, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it.
You have children as well?
No, I've dodged that bullet. I just never felt that it was the right thing. I love children. I'm on the Borrow Kid program. I love other people's children. Okay. You know, I love children, but it was never my path.
Okay. So if you come over.
You never know though. You never know. What's that?
If you come over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's one of my dreams to visit Thailand. So I look forward to seeing you in Thailand.
Very nice.
And meeting your family. Yeah.
Okay. Ciao.
Ciao then.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Stay safe out there.
Yeah. Stay safe, guys. Bye.